I often find myself wanting to make printables for my students that maybe aren't a full sheet of paper. Maybe it's just a checkpoint I want them to do or a small exit card, and I don't want a full piece of paper. There are ways for printing multiple pages in other programs, but it's not quite as easy from Google Files, so I wanted to show you a quick trick using tables to allow you to format using multiple pages. So here I have just a regular layout page. Now my default margin is 1/2 inch, so that's something I'm going to refer to. If you like to have larger margins, you'll have to change the numbers that I quote, but I highly suggest making them a little bit smaller if you're going to use multiple pages on one sheet. So right now I have a portrait style sheet set up. If I wanted to maybe cut it in half and have two different pages on this particular page, the thing that I would do is insert a table. I'm going to insert a table that is 3 high. I'll show you why in just a second. So when I insert my table, it's just 1 wide and 3 cells high. And what I want to do is I want to use the top cell and the bottom cell as my pages. I'm going to alter the middle cell so that it is the interior margins. I already have 5 inch or 1/2 inch margins on top and on bottom, so I want to have that show up for when I print and then cut them in half later on. So one thing you can do in your tables is if you right click in a particular cell, you have some options for table properties. So here it allows you to decide how wide you want your columns to be, as well as how high you want your columns to be. So in this case, I'm going to change the minimum row height. So if I'm dealing with a standard piece of paper, then that means it's 11 inches from top to bottom. Take out half an inch on the top and the bottom, and you are left with just 10 inches. I'm going to add a 1 inch margin in the middle as well, so that leaves me with 9 inches. So I'm going to say I want it to be 4.5. Say OK. I'm going to also change my bottom one to also have that same row height. And I'm going to change my middle one to be 0.5. So now if we look at my page, you can see that I have two, oops, I don't want it to be 0.5, I want it to be 1. Sorry about that. Alright, so now if we look at my page, I have this table, but it's split over 2 pages, which doesn't help me at all. So part of the reason it's split between 2 pages is because I have this default line that I can't get rid of up at the top. So one thing that you can do is you can just insert a page break or add another enters so that it goes down onto 2 pages. But you'll notice it still is multiple pages. So my little trick for this is remember that you have these borders, and those borders are taking up space. So usually what I do is I change the middle one to not quite be 1 inch, to make it a little bit less than 1 inch. And that should allow it all to show up on one page. I'm going to change my view so you can see it a little bit better. So here I have my 2 separate pages with my margin in the middle. When I'm ready to actually use it with my kids, usually I type when the borders are still there. But if I select all my cells, I can right click and go to my table properties, or I can also use more and change the borders here as well. But I can get rid of my borders, and then when I print it, I have 2 half sheets that are exactly the same size. Now you can also do this for when you have landscape layout. You can also do 2 columns. To change your layout, you can do page setup and make it landscape. This is where you can change your margins as well. But that will mean that you need to alter your table dimensions based on however it is that you want it to be laid out. Now I know it looks like I just showed you guys how to make a blank document. Trust me, when you have information in there, it works out really well. In the blog post that I make for this, I'm going to link to a couple of templates for you for some various layout options that you can feel free to copy and edit for your own use. So that's my shortcut trick for making multiple pages in a Google document.